What's up YouTube? It's your boy DC back with another tier list video. We're starting to ramp up these end of the year videos, and so just like last year, I'm going to be making a tier list of all of Monstercat's EPs and LPs for the year. So this year, I believe we had about 8 EPs and 5 LPs if you don't include Silk. Of course, if you know me, I'm sorry, I just don't listen to Silk, so I'm not including those LPs here. But you will get a chance to vote on those probably for the 2023 Monstercat Awards show I'm going to be doing again. I'll probably link the first part of that form in the description of this video, so be sure to check that out and wait for part 2 once you do part 1. We'll see how it goes, just read the rules and stuff. But yeah, let's get into ranking, or I guess making a tier list of all of these EPs and LPs for the year on Uncaged Instinct. So I think these are just in alphabetical order, so starting with Godland's Bleach, I believe this had, actually I got it written down here, let me see, it had 5 songs on it. So yeah, this is mainly like festival trap bangers. You know, Godlands is pretty good at that. She also tried something different here. I believe there's a couple D&B songs in here. The ones I really came back to this year was Charmer and You Want Me, so those are probably my top 2. The others are pretty solid. I haven't really listened to this EP too much, but just from first impression, listening back to whenever it came out and the couple songs that stuck with me, I'm going to give this an A tier, starting off strong. The next one we got here is another EP. This is Skylar's Blue Dream. It also has 5 songs on it, and this is mainly just hard wave trap. Unfortunately for me, I'm kind of tired of that style, that genre, mainly because Slippy did it a bunch back in 2020, and it kind of got old back then. And unfortunately, most of the songs here aren't too memorable for me. In fact, I don't even know if I added any of them to my playlist, so I probably heard all of these like one time this year, just when I was ranking it, whatever month it came out. So unfortunately, this it's not terrible or anything. It's just pretty forgettable. I'm gonna have to give this a C tier. Next, we got the first LP of the year. Well, it wasn't the first one to come out, but the first one on this list. So we've got Diesel's, aka Shaq's Guerrilla Warfare, and this is a banger through and through. I believe it has about 14, 15 songs to it, maybe. Definitely a couple of my favorites this year, especially Bang Your Head and No Fear. Those were probably my top 2 on it. This is just, I mean, it's clearly made to be played at like a rave or a music festival, but it's really fun to listen to in the car and other places too. It's just really fun to headbang to. Not all the songs click for me, but most of them I just find are pretty fun if you don't think about it too critically. So just for the fun factor alone, this has to go A tier as well. Next we have Coven's Higher Ground Part 2. I'm not going to lie, I kind of forgot this came out. I believe this was the first EP of the year. Probably came out back in either January or February, I'm guessing. But yeah, unfortunately, kind of like Skylar's Blue Dream, I forget most of the tracks here. I wrote it down here, I think. Yeah, so it's got 6 songs to it. The only one I really remember is 14th Canon, because it was a little bit different for Coven. You know, they had some fun bouncy house production there. But the other songs, mainly just standard Coven D&B, not too memorable. Doesn't really stand out. Again, it's not too bad, but just I completely forgot about this, and I didn't really listen to the songs that much this year, so this is going to C tier. Next, we got another album. Came out the same month as Diesel's. This is Grabbit's Let Them Only See Butterflies, and I always thought this was weird that it's only 8 songs, and it includes an intro, an interlude, and some like bonus outro. Just the fact that it's only 8 songs with those 3 in them. Kind of wish this just maybe got shrunk down to an EP. It's kind of weird calling an 8-song album an album, you know, but luckily this has a lot of Grabbit's charm in it. He's a great singer. He's great at implementing like real instruments into his music, especially the guitars in this one. I think my favorite track was probably Surrender Peace. Different for Grabbit, you know, it was a D&B, kind of like rock-tronic vibe to it. Hero, the first lead single for this album, was pretty good. Some mid-tempo banger there. Even Slow Dancer. You know what, I'm going to be honest, I like pretty much all the songs here. I just wish it was a bit longer. Yeah, maybe the interlude and intro got cut out, but other than that, this is a very solid album. I'm also going to give it A tier. And next, we've got Conroe's Melodramatic EP. This had 6 songs on it, I believe. Yes, it did. So most of this is just standard house for Conroe. And Conroe, I mean, honestly, he's been one of my favorite Monstercat artists forever, really. And I just thought this album, he played it pretty safe. This EP, I mean, I think he played it pretty safe. No real tracks stand out to me here other than Every Little Thing, the lead single. That was a total bop. Came out way back in January, but it still bops to this day, so that's great. But unfortunately, the other standard house tracks, like, they're fine when they come on, but they're not going to stick with me just because they're pretty standard. So just for that, I'm going to give this a B tier. Next, we've got the most, well, it's actually not the most recent album, but The most recent original album, I should say, is Fool's Machine. I would have to say, out of all the albums on here, this probably has the best storytelling to it, probably has the best, theme overall he went for here. The atmosphere is great. It's got a lot of dark, mid-tempo synthwave. He even made a funk song with Thirst, which was better than expected, so that's cool. Even some gritty dubstep in there too, so this is a very solid record right here. I can see the appeal for some people not being quite there because, if you're not into the style of music Fool makes, a lot of this can sound pretty similar. And if you don't like that, then you'll probably get tired of it. But for me personally, it was nice listening to it all the way through. I don't know how many songs would work well outside the context of the album, but they're all pretty high quality. Would I come back to this album as much as the other two? That's a good question. I'm kind of leaning between A and B tier for this. I must admit, Fool's style of music doesn't always hit for me, but it did have quite a few bangers on this. And just because it's Fool's debut album, I'm going to give it an A tier as well. So all three albums so far have been pretty strong. And next we've got Thrones of Blood. Oh, wait, is this? No, this is the Overthrown Thrones of Blood. This is basically the remix album of Thrones of Blood. So I'm going to throw these two together here. So first of all, Thrones of Blood by Sullivan King. You got pretty much what you expected. A lot of heavy dubstep, a lot of screamo by Sully. If you're into that, you'll probably love this thing. Me personally, I'm not quite into that all the time, but I gotta admit there were quite a few bangers on here that I did come back to, like Came to Rage. Even the intro, Watch the Crown Fall, was great. Fall Apart was really good, so it had at least 3 to 4 bangers that I would come back to quite often. Other than that, the ones that didn't hit were pretty bad for me, just not too enjoyable for my taste in music, but he also did a pretty good job at theming this thing. So the theming isn't similar to Fools. The theming, I would say, is kind of similar to Guerrilla Warfare. You got like hard-hitting, heavy dubstep bangers in this, but I gotta admit, I like Guerrilla Warfare a little bit better. Is this A tier? I could see a lot of people giving this A, maybe even S tier if you're into it. Me personally, I'm going to give this B tier because there were a few songs that I just could not stand. So yeah, that's going to be a B tier. But then the Overthrown, the remix album of this, I actually just listened to all these like right before making this video, so it's pretty fresh in my mind, and unfortunately, I don't know how many remixes actually top the originals. A lot of these remixes kind of sound pretty similar to the original, and I noticed that a lot of them like to pitch down Sullivan King's vocals in them, which was kind of weird. I guess it's a stylistic choice, but I would prefer just normal screamo by Sully instead of some weird pitch down version of it. And then the drops, a lot of them are pretty much just like heavy dubstep, rhythm, modern dubstep there. So I would say it's probably a tier down from the original. Just off first impression, maybe more listens, it'll improve, but yeah, I'm going to have to give this C tier. By the way, I don't know if the order of these really matter. I might reorder it at the end again. We'll see. And then another EP here, we've got Cranked at Slaughterhouse. Came out back in April, has 7 songs to it, and I'm going to be honest, this is straight up my favorite EP of the year. I know I didn't give anything S tier last year. This is on borderline S tier. It's between A and S for me right away. I'll say that just because I listened to this quite a few times, like from start to finish. It just had a great flow to it. You could listen to each track back to back, and it was a lot of fun. He went for a more like bass house, electro house feel to it. A lot of like headbangers in here that were a lot of fun. Blow the Whistle was definitely one. Move Back was fun. I pretty much like all the songs here, except the last one was kind of disappointing to me. He went more like the melodic route, but it just didn't click with me. But other than that, this is a 6 out of 7 track EP for me. Borderline 7 out of 7 if I like the last song a little bit more. So yeah, this is actually, I might have to give S tier to Crank Daddy. I think he deserves it. We'll give it an S tier. Moving on to Whipped Cream's EP, Someone You Can Count On, and also the remix EP of that, but I'll just say it right away, the remix EP, totally forgettable, had like 3 remixes on it, had 1 techno remix, and I honestly can't remember the other 2, so because of that, this is going to be D tier. The original, however, unfortunately, Whipped Cream's music is a pretty acquired taste, I might say, and I don't know if I've acquired that taste myself. You kind of never know what you're going to get with her music. She does a lot of different genres. The only song I really came back to a few times this year was Rewind, and I think I would like that more than most people. But other than that, I didn't really care for many of the songs here. Angels was alright, but that came out last year. But so this whole EP is definitely better than the remix package, I can say that. But would I come back to it, this is going to have to be another C tier. And then we've got the one and only Instinct EP of the year, like completely Instinct. You could argue that Grabbit's album had some Instinct-like tracks on there, but this one's solely Instinct. It's Arm & Hammer's Together as One. And unfortunately, this is a lot of just standard, generic, pretty basic commercial house that doesn't really appeal to me these days. I don't think I added a single song from this album to my main playlist, so I probably only heard this once for a ranking video, and then after that I just didn't come back to it. This style of house that Arm & Hammer makes just isn't exciting enough for me. It doesn't really stand out. It all kind of blends together, and it's not very appealing to me, unfortunately. So this was pretty much a letdown. Yeah, I don't know if it's on the same level as the remix. I kind of feel bad if I put it in D, the only Instinct album, but for me personally, I just it was pretty underwhelming. You know what? I am gonna have to give it a D. This is my tier list after all. And last but not least, we have Ray Volpe's Volpatron Ascends debut EP right here. This has 5 tracks on it. It's got a few hard-hitting dubstep bangers that you would expect from him. He also made a bass house track, which was pretty fun. And he even closed it with a melodic banger with Run, which was pretty good. Me personally, the 3 normal tracks you would expect from him, I'm talking about like the Uncaged dubstep here, doesn't really appeal to me that well. Just his style, like I know Happy Song was popular for a lot of people, but I didn't really like it that much, to be honest with you. I thought the bass house track was pretty fun. It kind of grew on me. It doesn't have the best mixing in it, but you know, it's a fun track. And then the Run melodic one, It Isn't Me is what it's called. That one, you know, I thought it was pretty enjoyable. So overall, is it an EP I would recommend? Definitely give it a listen. Do I come back to it? Not really. But it's pretty solid. It's kind of like Conrose. It's kind of what you'd expect from the artist. You kind of wish he did a little bit more, but it's solid. So yeah, that's going to do it. This is my 2023 Uncaged and Instinct EP and LP tier list. Let me know down in the comments whether you agree or not, or what you would change about it. You can probably find this on tierlistmaker.com. I think I've made it public, so if you want to do it yourself, go ahead. But yeah, be sure to check out the first link for the 2023 Monstercat Awards show I'm putting on again. Yeah, other than that, thanks for watching, you guys. I'll catch you in the next one.